does it seem that one side always has to win and the other side always has to lose? Why is it that everybody can't be a winner? Sometimes, even when we win, we lose. And in losing, sometimes we still win. Hi, this is Barry Phillips of 10-Minute Torah, day number 3, the Torah portion of Vayeshev, which means and he dwelt. What are we talking about winning and losing here? Well, we're talking about the situation that has developed in chapter number 37 of Bereshit, or Genesis. There was an issue that the sons of Yaakov dealt with called the Joseph problem. 10 brothers figured that to resolve the Joseph problem, they needed to get rid of Joseph. It would seem that Yaakov has made Joseph heir apparent, and that it would be that he alone would be the recipient of the Bechira, the significant blessing that says you are the one who carries on the lineage of the seed that was promised in Bereshit, or Genesis 3:15, and that you are the heir of the land that was promised to Abraham from the river of Egypt, or Mitzrayim, all the way to the Euphrates. The brothers had determined that it's time for the family to receive this blessing and not just one individual. But Joseph is sporting this significant coat, and Yaakov is doting on him. And it doesn't help that a teenager lacking wisdom, as such, Joseph promotes himself to his brothers as, look what's good and happening to me. So in their estimation, perhaps they're thinking, if we can just get rid of Joseph, then Daddy will have to resolve this a different way, and we won't be blessed and sent away the way previous generations has dealt with the other sons. So they capture Joseph, take off his coat. He ends up being pulled out of a pit, not by the brothers. If you read carefully, you will see that it wasn't the brothers who pulled him out. Verse 28 of chapter 37 says, Midianite traders passed by. So they pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit, and they, the Midianite traders, sold him to the Ishmaelites. So when the brothers got to the pit, they didn't know where Joseph was at. But they had his coat, so they dipped it in blood, took it to Yaakov, and said, is this your son's coat? Thinking, we are resolving the Joseph problem. We have gotten rid of Joseph by one way or the other. He's gone. Yaakov goes into such a state of grief that they're wondering, is he ever going to come out of that? So there are two problems that they did not count on. Number one was the grief of Daddy. Joseph despairs. He cries constantly, day after day after day. He's not coming out of this depression and grief. If he doesn't come out, then he can't operate in the spirit of prophecy, and nobody's going to get the Bechira. The other thing I don't think they counted on was the level of not grief, but guilt that they would in themselves experience. Can you just see them looking at one another and like, it was your idea. Why didn't you stop us? And the natural leader of the brothers is Yehuda. And he can't stand it. Daddy grieving and my brothers filled with guilt and I'm condemned. I'm out of here. And so we read in chapter 38. Verse 1, and at that time it came to be that Yehuda left his brothers and turned aside. The Hebrew word turned aside there is the Hebrew word yarad, and it means to go down. He didn't just turn off to the side somewhere. He went down. Down in his own estimation, down in the eyes of others, maybe even down geographically, but he went down. And he turned aside to an Adullamite whose name was Hira. Yehuda saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he took her and went into her. And she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name She conceived again and bore a son, and she called his name Onan. She conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. And he was at Kezib when she bore him. This storyline reads like a modern-day soap opera. Yehuda has gone down. He is escaping. He is running from responsibilities. Maybe he is cutting ties. But the understanding is that the Mashiach is to come from his lineage, and that Mashiach cannot come from the cursed lineage of the Canaanites. This is doomed to failure from the beginning. What's interesting is the name Adullam or Adullah, it means justice for the people. The name Hira means nobility. So it kind of goes in contrast. This man, he is on one side a call to nobility, on the other side a call to the justice of the people. Normally it's the nobility that are oppressing the people, but here we have a sign of the modern day Arabic leaders of the Arabic nations, the nobility, the ruling class that are crying out for justice for the people. What people? The so-called, erroneously called Palestinians, who are in fact themselves Arabs. If you do any research, there's no such thing as a Palestinian. They are Arabs. Another teaching, another time. So he is one then that is crying out justice for the people. The name Shua, his wife, her name, it means to cry out for help, yet it also can suggest one of affluence, opulence, and wealth. So he is double tying himself to those that would cry out against his own purpose. If we take this to the modern day situation, it's a prophetic picture in my estimation, my thoughts here. That part of Yehuda who is at home in the land is saying, maybe we should trade land for peace. Let's give the Arabic demands for borders to be increased and give the Palestinians what they think that they want and desire and deserve, all in the name of peace. Now, it's not just from the Arabic peoples, but it's also from the major players in the political fronts of the world over, the UN, the UK, the US, Russia, etc. The leading nations of the earth would put pressure upon Israel, and there is an element within Israel that says, let's play the political game and let's get this done. The problem is Mashiach cannot come out of that. Mashiach is looking for a different lineage. Enter the picture of Tamar. Her name means palm tree, tall and erect. It gives the idea of elegance, sophistication, and beauty. She's been given to two of Yehuda's sons, to and Onan, and they are so evil, Yah just kills them. She will not be denied. So she plays the role of deception that Yaakov played, and that Joseph, his coat was used to deceive Yaakov. Now another level of deception with clothes is taking place as she dresses herself as a harlot, and she conceives by none other than Yehuda to produce for him a different lineage. Now, why would Tamar be any different than Shua? Yehuda says when he finds out that she's pregnant, he finds out and says, let her be burned. That's judgment reserved for the daughter of priesthood. Could it be that she is of a priestly lineage? Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11 says, have no dealings with the unfruitful works of darkness. 2 Corinthians 6 says, come out from among them and be separate, says Yah, and touch not the unclean thing. We cannot compromise. We cannot yield. We need to pray and intercede today for Yehuda, that they stand strong in the land and make no alliances that will cost them the appearance of Yeshua, our Messiah. May it be so. More tomorrow, and until then, shalom.